Rick Carmel.
Hi.
Our station, I'll let him explain that, but our station is one of a couple stations that have two captains now. Our worst one station, Lancaster, it has two captains also. I'll let him explain the reason why. He's here to just answer some questions to talk about a little bit about what happened at Pearblossom and Longview. Just know that, no, there's only certain questions he can answer because it's still under investigation. So I'll let Captain Carmel go ahead.
Hi, yeah, I'm Rick Cartmill. I'm what we call the administrative captain at Palmdale Station. 3 stations are doing the pilot program of two captains, Palmdale, Lancaster, and also East Los Angeles Station down below. They're 3 of our busiest stations on the department. Now the 2 captain model is broken up into what they call the patrol operations captain, which is captain department, and for Palmdale, and I'm what's called the administrative captain. So there is, each of us have our own areas where we have primary responsibility, but there's also a bunch of overlap, and we also help each other out. So we have 2 captains that are available to go to like a possible town council events, city council events, things like that. While things like this are generally Josh's primary responsibility, I'm also available to handle some of them. And since I was the captain that rolled out for the shooting in your area, I felt it was incumbent upon me to come out here and to address any concerns that you have. So basically, Captain Barden, his responsibilities include things like community engagement, deployment, crime prevention strategies, a lot of what you call pretty much be forward facing. He's also the liaison for the city council and Palmdale, and also with board of supervisors. What I handle is a lot of the back end paperwork. I handle everything we kind of consider like the risk management issues. I handle the use of force investigations or any administrative investigations, traffic collisions. I'm also in charge of the station training program. So
there's a couple of hats.
Yeah, and a lot of these things overlap, you know, like employment, you know, and things like that. So we work collaboratively together for the betterment of the station. But one of the good things is it allows, you know, in a busy station, there's a lot of paperwork and there's a lot of public events, and especially in a place like this, that's this big, you know, the total square mileage for Palmdale Station area is, I believe, like 770 square miles.
Sure.
So when you got things going on in a bunch of different places, a lot of times the captain is just spinning plates, trying to keep things going. And this allows Captain Barden to focus on a lot of the crime prevention, actually start having strategies towards that, and also strategies towards community engagement, while I can focus on more strategies on the risk management front, and also beefing up our training program. And so far we've been doing it for about 4 months now, and we've been finding a lot of successes with it. But like I said, since I was the captain who rolled out for the deputy involved shooting, I wanted to come out and answer any questions you might have that I can answer, and also to address, to hear any community concerns regarding that shooting. Like for example, like one of the things I like to explain, when there is a deputy involved shooting, is what the actual process is for the investigation. If that's something you guys would like to hear about.
Sure,
Most definitely.
Yeah. So whenever there is a deputy involved shooting, all right, especially if it's a hit shooting, and you know, and even more so when the person dies, a lot of entities are called to the scene. All right. Our Homicide Bureau, our Internal Affairs Bureau, the Office of Inspector General comes to the scene, executives come to the scene, the District Attorney's Office comes to the scene.
They're rolling thick.
Yes, it becomes a very large show on this. Now, on a hit shooting, whether you know the person who got shot, you know, whether they're wounded or they pass away, Homicide Bureau is the primary investigator for all deputy involved shootings. Their headquarters unit, they And they're the primary investigators. And what their responsibility for that is to gather all the information, and it's presented to the district attorney's office, where the district attorney's office will review it and make a determination whether or not the shooting was a lawful shooting.
Sure.
Yeah, so alongside that is what we'll have is an administrative investigation internally, whether to find out if the shooting itself was, even if it was lawful, legal, whether or not it fell within our department's policies and within our tactics for incidents. So the process is long. And that's, I'll be, you know, and that's, a lot of that is, we don't have a lot of control over, because it goes to the district attorney's office, and also once the investigation is being handled by homicide bureau, so a lot of times the station is given just very minimal information, and there are good reasons for that, so that we, you know,
Go ahead,
yeah, so I don't draw my own conclusions. I don't try to influence, you know, we can't be accused of trying to influence the investigation. And just for a variety of reasons. Now, the downside to that, as we've found out, is a lot of times, you know, homicide bureau they are outstanding at their job, investigating it, but with that information not getting shared, sometimes for that reason, a lot of times the station kind of feels, well, it's out of our hands, but it is incumbent upon us to reach out to the community where the shooting happens and find out, you know, how you guys are feeling, you know, what your concerns are. So that's, you know, one of the reasons that I came out here today.
I just happened early in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
In 6 or 7.
Mm-hmm.
School district, but I wife home say she thought there was an accident on that, but it's out. I look at this, get this guy another accident. 15 ball shooting. Oh, but all day long. Helicopter. It was not just law enforcement, but we had the news program
Right.
all day long. Randy calls me up. Our local guy, Randy calls me up, and it's like 4 o'clock. David, there's another helicopter. Do you see it? And I said, right here, you know, I'm like, yep. And sure enough, there was another big bird came around, gave a couple turns.
That was,
Eyes on it.
part of that was one of our airships.
Yes.
And they are, part of the investigation that Kevin's talking about. They have to fly the scene.
Sure.
And fly and take pictures of the scene, and around the vicinity.
I kind of figured it was some like follow-up though, because that's what she if I'm going
Yeah,
around,
they
like
take,
at a very, very same altitude,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. So, yeah, so that is one of the things that, our homicide bureau gets, is they get aerial photography over.
Well,
We're
I'll tell
shooting.
you what, because I do work with school districts, so I got a lot of feedback from the people who do live here, and they were happy to see, well, not happy to see, they were proud to see that presence, handling it, but they were curious about why are they still there? I'm like, they're investigating it. I go, it's not just to open the door, to shut the door and lock it and go away. I go, they're investigating the whole thing.
Yeah.
I don't know what it else, and that was local, you know, logical
Yeah,
explanation.
no, I mean, scenes like that, especially when they're this, you know, I guess best way to put it, just this far out.
Sure.
It takes a long time for all of the elements to get there, and the homicide investigators, the crime scene investigators.
Sure.
We have a kind of a satellite crime lab in Lancaster, but it doesn't have everything. It's only designed to do certain things, so you have to get people. I mean, it's a long day.
Yeah, for sure. I mean,
Yeah.
you could tell, so you know, everybody's putting their time in, and you see there's like the 2 cruisers walking off, and those guys are there like all day long. Man,
Yeah.
you know, like, you guys know where the bathrooms are at, I hope. I mean, you just
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
you know,
So,
power drinks and coffee all day.
One thing that I did, I was on my way out here because I responded to out here too when it came out.
Yeah.
I ended up calling the school. I couldn't get anybody at the DOs, but so I called Pearblossom, talked to the principal, advised her what was going on. At that time, we had somebody who was already, by that time, that the situation, it was pretty much
Neutralized.
Yeah, done.
Yeah.
And I just say, let your parents know what's going on, let the buses know.
Yeah.
And I was in contact, matter of fact, the superintendent called me a couple times. And I was in direct contact throughout, I was here the whole day. in direct contact the whole day with the school district.
And you know, that's one thing that people don't think about, but thank you for the bus, for transportation,
Yeah.
because transportation is like one of the most important parts. And like, when I'm over there and I'm doing something for them over there, and she's, I'm trying to get it going, not going, it's like, and then when we had that big rain, it's shut down T and everything, so you gotta redirect everybody this way, and you get everybody else thing. It's
So
not
that's-
easy, not easy to coordinate all these children going to
Yeah,
school.
so that's one thing I did make sure I jumped on it right away.
Yeah.
When that went down and everything was kind of, not with Tom, but it was, the situation, it was taken care of. I
Sure.
made sure that the school district knew what was going on. That's part of my job as a resident deputy, to be a liaison
Sure.
to those kind of things. So the school district knew what was going on right away. Parents knew, they put messages out right away. And so I made sure that was taken care of, so.
Yeah, they were very thankful for that, Andy. I spoke to a lot of people. They're like, Chris, what's going on? I got this message, and I'm like, it's exactly what it says. I don't know how much more to break it down for you. I did have a question that came up with this, and it's not directly to you, I guess, because of the amount of homeless we have out here.
Right.
Or the amount of people who, because we're a highway town, so people either get dropped off or they get dropped off in Palmdale, and then businesses drop them off out here. That's how we ended up with most of our homeless.
Right,
You know, 10 years ago, we only had 2 homeless people in this town,
right,
and that's it. Like, they lived in someone's backyard, so technically they were never out like what we
Right.
see now.
no, it's an endemic problem, throughout LA County. I mean,
So people were trying to be like, how do we be more preventative of that? And I said, well, there's a few ways that I could share from my point of view. We had to do the homeless count and really show the numbers that we
yeah,
have out
that's
there.
important,
Since 2018, I've been doing the count. Last in 2022, we showed that we do have the highest percentage for our population.
right,
And 23, I believe, is going to show the same thing. And then 24 as well.
yeah,
The gentleman that this happened to, you know, some people are like, this guy was not from this town. And so that's what we heard, but I don't know. Do you guys know anything about that? Was it a local, or was it someone that was just passing through? And can you say anything about that?
yeah, my understanding is, he was homeless. In regards to where he was originally from, that I don't know. I do know that Homicide Bureau was recently able to identify family members of his and made contact with them, but it has not come back to me where he was, originally from.
Okay.
So.
But the word that I got, who were telling me that he had just rolled into town about 3 days prior.
Okay.
But then I recognized him from Little Rock. I dealt with him a couple times in Little Rock. So.
But
Yeah, that's
he's
all I know.
been kind of just lingering out here for a while. Okay. The other question that came up, gentleman couldn't come tonight. He owns a house. He has like 4 properties around his house.
Mhm.
The property across from him is in his son's name, and his son thinks that the guys who are trying to rent the spot from him can have illegal marijuana grow. And I told the guys, I was like, you're freaking out of your mind. You think you're gonna set up a grow right here in the middle of the town? You're nuts. Well, they're just going for it. So one community member called him like, hey, I got this, so I called code enforcement. So they started that, but
Right.
that's a whole nother process. And once code enforcement smells pot, they're not walking nowhere near that place. So is there still a cannabis abatement team? Like, where are you guys at with like illegal grows right now?
I can, want to give me the information, give part of the information, we can reach out to our station's narcotics team and, see, if they can assist code enforcement on that.
Because he doesn't want it there. The property's like, looks like it's joined to his, but it's not his name. He disconnected the well. He wants nothing to do with these people. He's been begging me for the last 2 months. How do we get rid of them?
Yeah, on that, it's not a fast process, I know that. But I'll see if our station narcotics team is working on, is aware of that, or if they're working.
I have very detailed information I'll share with you guys.
Right.
The last question that came up was, we had an incident about a month ago,
Okay,
and it was up on W.
Okay.
We had, obviously, these gentlemen, or it's not gentlemen, but these scumbags thought they can come into someone's house and do an armed robbery. Well,
Right.
obviously, they thought they were going into a cannabis grow, which we all know that a lot of them went from the outdoors
right,
operations. Once the heat came down, a lot of them started buying homes, and now they're going. So do we probably have like 15 to 20 houses in this community that are growing pot illegally? They're the nicest neighbors because there's no one's there and their yards look perfect.
right,
But what happened the other night is perfect example of, well, that's a stash house. There's got to be money there. So
right.
now we
I
have
understand.
families, and the family that was there, what we heard is they were missed. They just got the wrong house. And they, we heard there was three guys that stormed the house. So the cannabis is obviously involved again with this whole incident. Has anyone ever been caught or identified with that? Do you know about the
I
incident
can,
maybe?
so on that one, off the top of my head, I do not know. That's something, I can, we can look into it anywhere.
See if I can find something.
Okay. And if not, we can get back to you, with progress on that investigation. So,
And that's it for direct concerns.
okay,
Then I spoke with a handful of other people, and almost all of them came up with the same suggestion. Is there a way that, and we already know that the department kind of does this, but is there a way we can get into bigger talks, maybe with the sheriff or whatever, so they realize, like, you guys are spread so thin out here. And to get extra officers out here, it's gonna be a challenge.
Yeah.
We get that. But why should you guys have the burden to come out and fill out like reports all the time?
yeah, that's a big thing. So the departments, if you could spread the word on this, and we're trying to expand it, it's, we have an online reporting system. It's called Sorts. If you go to either the Palmdale Station website, or even just the LASD.org website itself, there will be a link to it. There's a limited number of types of reports this time that we can take over it. But we're looking to expand the types of reports we can do on that.
Okay.
And then also I can tell you that we are looking into internally. I was actually talking with Captain Barton about this yesterday. We were discussing looking into what our department's policies are in regards to just taking telephonic reports on things. It's not something our department's ever done. We were doing it a little bit during the COVID lockdown. So looking to see if we can, see what reports we can take telephonically just to speed things up. So that way, because that response time is one of the biggest things that we hear about all the time. And it's a big concern of ours. And it's a very primary concern in Captain Barber. We have been able to get it down significantly in the last 4 months, but we are working on trying to get it down more. And also because it's not fair to everybody. Honestly, it's not fair to you, the residents looking to get just a simple report taken. It's not fair to the deputies because a lot of time, by the time a deputy actually has the time to come out here, I'll be quite honest with you, it's usually a brand new deputy who got called like a shift and a half later, and they walk into an aggravated citizen's, basically, who is rightfully aggravated, and then the deputy's like, well, I just got the call. Yeah, the call's 10 hours old, but I just got it. And then that deputy ends up with the complaint. It is a big issue that we were working on. We have managed to get it down significantly. I mean, significantly for us, but it's still for you guys. We deal with an antiquated computer assisted dispatch system. So we're trying to work on ways to do it, but I can tell you this is the sheriff is very big on expanding the sorts thing. He, like every meeting where I've been at, he's pushing that and he wants to expand it. And this is, you know, these are things that we're looking at working on.
If there's maybe a way that we can help support that movement, we've been talking about it for years out here. I know we even brought it up to Andy, and he's like, "That's way up here." And I was like, "Yeah, I know. We'll get there one day." So from what you're telling right now is pretty promising.
Yeah.
Because what's happened is you guys your data of what's happening in Pearblossom Mariano is so skewed because we just don't call y'all anymore.
Well, and that's
the number one company.
Yeah, that's
And because no one wants to wait 10 hours, so there's a simple property crime or something.
right.
And what sucks is more people get the most aggravated is when they want to file something with the insurance, they have to get the report.
Correct. And
So then
yeah.
that's when they're like, okay, and then some people are like, well, it's like 2 days, you know, they're like, oh man, I don't want to, you know, like I have to get this done, and but I got to go to work, and I meet you later today. And so I think that's great.
You know, it's a, you know, that is our number, I would say, you know, number one complaint that we get, and we get it all around, is about response times. And you know, it's a big thing, because like, you know, like I just said there, it's not fair to anybody. You know,
it just took, you know, that if you guys could focus on the big stuff, because that's what's important to us out here.
No, it's
The little things matter, but
it's not a little thing. It's you know, it's just basic customer service. It's, you know, every large organization has the ability to do a lot of things, you know, electronically, but the sheriff's department is very slow turning ship, you know, as far as that goes. But it's like I just said, it's a huge priority to the sheriff. And it's something I would say it's one of the top 3 things he talks about at every meeting that I've attended and or heard him referring to.
Maybe we can have a discussion later and put a letter together.
Yeah,
Support the sheriff's movement.
the community volunteer sheriffs. So is there a geographic region that they focus on, or can they go anywhere? It seems to me that this would be a great.
They go to the park and they go to see the storms, and I see them in the park.
Well,
frequently.
well, there's well, I mean, are you referring? What are you referring to, like the volunteers? Okay, the volunteers on patrol. Okay,
Yeah.
wanted to make sure we weren't referring to the parks deputy security officers. Okay.
Can they take reports?
I believe, can the volunteers take reports? I honestly, it would involve us giving them a lot more training that we would be responsible for providing them. I don't think we've ever had volunteers take reports. To my knowledge, I could be wrong, but not something I've ever heard of.
Inside the city of Palmdale, they have people that do it though, right?
Yeah, they are Palmdale City employees.
Right.
They're community service officers.
Right.
And
They're not volunteers, but they do take reports.
yeah, they do take reports.
Yeah.
They'll take some of the
That might be a nice individual thing to county to get.
yeah, it would. We'd have to see if the volunteers would be interested in doing that. A lot of times, yeah. So
Back to the, we're kind of all over the place
No, I
tonight.
understand.
Back to the investigation on the shooting. How far along do you think the investigation is? Is this like phase 1 of?
it's phase
10
1.
or-
I will let you, my experience on the department is, in general, homicide finishes up their portion of it within a few months. In general.
So we're still in the
Yeah, we're
first.
still in the very beginning of it. And then it's presented to the district attorney's office, and the district attorney's office, they're, you know, one of the reasons, my understanding is one of the reasons why it takes a long time at the district attorney's office. 1 is the seriousness of it. And 2 is it goes to a unit at the district attorney's office called the Justice Systems Integrity Division. And it's a small unit of highly trained district attorneys who focus on these types of things. but they do what they refer to as vertical prosecution. And so the district attorney who is handed the case will have it throughout it, including, if it is, charges are filed and through all the way through the court process on that. So a lot of times, just like everybody else, the DA's office they have their own staffing issues. If the DA who's assigned it is in trial, that's the only thing they're working on, and then they reviews and they do very deep reviews on it. It goes very high up in the DA's office for a sign off, for a sign off. So, and I would, we would all like it to progress faster, but it's also something that,
Wheels of justice turn
Yeah.
slow.
Yeah.
How about the deputy that did the shooting? How's he?
he's doing all right.
He back at work?
Yeah, he's back at work. He's not back out in the field yet. We have to do what we call a critical incident review, which is scheduled. But as part of the process is, once Homicide Bureau feels that they have enough preliminary information to give a preliminary briefing to the executives, then they put on that presentation. And then after that, it's determined, based upon the preliminary information, if the deputy can go back out in the field or not. So that is scheduled, and once we have that meeting, we'll find out. He's currently working. He's currently working, but he's just not out in the field. And I talked to him yesterday, and he's doing all right.
Good.
Thank you for asking how he's doing.
Thank you, guys. What's the staffing like now? Since you've been there, do we have as many cars on the street or personnel? Are we up to, has defunding the department hit you guys, or are we as well staffed as you've been there, or recent years that maybe Cronin can?
So basically on this is, I will tell you this, actually, we had a briefing, our captain of personnel bureau, we recently had a briefing in regarding to our recruitment efforts. And he was happy to report that the number of people putting in initial applications has gone up a lot, which is obviously necessary for us to get enough people into the academy. Right now, we are staying ahead of attrition, people who are retiring, but we want to try to, obviously push our numbers up. We are, the station's down personnel. As far as deputies on the street at any given time, we will have the same number of deputies on the street. It's just the number of deputies assigned to the station is down. And obviously then that leads to overtime and the deputies working additional shifts. And, I want them to work less shifts, quite honestly. And we all do. And that's from the sheriff down. That's the community wants the deputies to work less shifts. Yeah. I'm a firm believer that a certain amount of overtime is good for morale, but then when it becomes excessive, it becomes
A drain.
It becomes a drain in every direction.
Especially mandatory shifts. I would imagine.
Yes. But we do have to provide public safety. So it's a double-edged sword. I've been on the department 25 years, and I've seen the ebbs and flows. And this is the but it is getting better. So, but it's a slow. Like once again, it's from day one, somebody putting in the application, be a deputy sheriff, to them showing up at the academy is in general a minimum of a 6 month is a 3 to 6 month time frame, because that includes background investigations, medical exams, psychological exam, a bunch of different exams, including most importantly the background investigation.
To be honest, that sounds kind of fast. Like I would have guessed a lot longer.
Well, I mean, it's here now. I can just tell you, the fastest I've ever heard of is 3 to 4 months.
Yeah.
Standard is 6 to 9.
Yeah.
When I got hired, I was still very young. I remember my background. So I'd only had 2 jobs since high school and lived in the same place. And so my background investigator went, "Oh wow, this won't take too long, I can just not pack it out. So, and that was still it was literally almost 6 months. And, back then, so, so it's speed, it's not a fast process. And nor should it be if we want to do a thorough background investigation, especially, so, because we don't want to, we're not lowering our standards. It's just a matter of, we need X amount of we've always needed X amount of applications, I think it's something like, I forget the exact number I've heard in the past, it's like you need probably at least 10 applications to at the end of the day, put in one person in the academy, if not more. So the more, so when we start hearing the numbers, the number of applications are going up, that's a good sign. And we're, our recruitment efforts are going up high. So if you know anybody who's, looking to become a deputy sheriff, we are definitely hiring.
What's the age cutoff, 35?
No, there is no age cutoff anymore.
So.
I'm like, that's it, what?
I remember I met a guy graduated the academy and he was in his late 40s. Yeah.
Rookie.
So one more question. I understand LAPD has recently launched their crisis response team. Now, does the sheriff department have anything like that, or is that in the works?
No.
They're taking like, I guess, non-violent calls now.
Oh,
Are
okay.
Are you aware of that?
I think I heard something about
Yeah.
that, the crisis response. So I don't know if that's similar to our mental evaluation team.
I think they're talking about sending out social workers to calls that we don't even go to.
Yeah,
Right,
that's
yeah.
not, okay,
That's the way I
so
understand.
basically, as far as that goes, no, that is not something we have started to do yet. We are trying to work with our allied agencies, whether it's code enforcement or a lot of times code enforcement or other different government entities to see if we can divert the call to them if we can. But one of the things with the sheriff's department is if, for the most part, if somebody demands a deputy comes to their house, we end up going, it might be 12 hours later, but we will go. So that's one of the things with our, that's just always been a thing about the sheriff's department.
Okay.
I got a question.
Yeah.
I've heard LAPD and are not accepting non-citizens into the recruitment. Are you guys doing the same thing?
So, yeah, I did get briefed on this. It's, there was a change in state law that allows for it. Now, there's a lot of caveats to it. One being is
You're not allowed to carry a firearm off duty.
Off duty, basically.
The Department of Justice won't. They sorry to cut you off.
Yeah, that is the biggest. That is the biggest portion of it. So, and this was vetted through the Fed, not only Cal DOJ, but through ATF and well, mostly ATF because they're with the Department of Justice, the Federal Department of Justice. So yes, so basically there was a change of state law that would allow for it. And my understanding is there are a couple on the department already. And basically is they have to, they can only carry their duty weapon while they're on duty, and then they have to check it in basically to the watch commander at the end of their shift. So, and it's we have to abide by state law, and it's got vetted through
It's
the
everything, right?
yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, it was kind of interesting when I got briefed on it. So, but
Yeah, but apparently
It's the law.
there's 2 or 3 in their academy right now.
it's kind of interesting. It's not something we've ever had. Well, I won't say that is because the communities, our department's security officers who have guns, they are supposed to be checking those in and out from the state, from the station. They don't necessarily, get CCWs. So it's not unheard of. It's just unheard. It's not. It's it's a learning curve for the department.
I have my last question here. Are every sheriff's deputies out there wear a camera on them or no?
Yes.
Now,
Yeah.
how long would it take for that incident that happened with the shooting for that camera to be released to the media?
Well, state laws, it's gotta get released, I believe, it's either 60 or 90 days.
Well, pretty much 3 months from now, we'll see that.
Yeah, I believe it's 60. And it's been a little bit less than a month at this point, so,
2 more months,
yeah.
about summer.
We've been actually been getting them out on average in about 2 months. The last few that have been released.
I usually a lot of times also they'll put it on our website.
Yeah.
PRTC.org, and there's a tab you can click for critical incidents.
And I think the
Yeah.
department's YouTube channel as well.
Yeah, so it'll be out there.
Yeah, I know LAPD did the same thing that used to do.
LAPD, I will say LAPD is much faster, but they have a much larger, video, filming, yeah.
Yeah, a lot more
So
footage.
their unit that handles that is much larger.
So eventually one day that's gonna drop on the internet, they're like, oh, wow, Pearblossom.
Well, if I get, we will make sure, we usually get word about it, a little bit ahead of time. We'll make sure that it gets, disseminated to the town council that it's coming out.
Because that's what usually smokes the fire more when that stuff gets released, so.
Well, actually, with that, it's not the video of the body camera, it kind of clears a lot of things up.
Yeah.
Because you hear it before the video comes out, there's a lot of, hey, this happened,
Yeah.
what hearsay, da, da, da. And then when you actually see the video, you're like, oh, it didn't happen.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of times, it clears a lot of this hearsay, these rumors, it clears a lot of stuff up. Well, there's some people that are not gonna buy even on the video,
Yeah.
but at least for the majority, it doesn't stoke the fire. It actually helps.
Yeah, the fishing rod and the catfish, he was coming up.
There's a lot of rumors that, wow, I've heard since this shooting happened, I've had a lot of people ask me, and I've heard a lot of things. And I just said, why don't you just wait till the investigation's done, the video will be released one of these days,
Save your breath.
and you'll be able to see what actually happened.
Yeah, because I've heard this in Lancaster, it's kind of like the same thing.
Yeah, the same thing, everybody said this and that, and then once you saw the video, you're like,
Oh,
okay, now I know really what happened.
If you go to the right news source, I know a lot of videos I watch, they show you the part that they want you to see.
But that's why you
And
go
you're
to.
like, well, hold on a second, what happened in the first section?
That's true.
I didn't just.
That's why you can go to our website, click on the critical incident tab.
Right.
It has every single deputy involved shooting that's happened within, you've had body cameras. You can click on it and there's a brief little narrative, it kind of breaks down the incident, and then you see multiple body camera shots from multiple, whoever deputies are involved. And you'll be able to see every angle of it. So then it answers your question.
okay, so no Freedom of Information Act request, any of that stuff.
And it's gonna be right there, just like the captain, even in our YouTube channel, it's gonna come out there too.
Perfect.
It's in the, yeah, so.
We make sure that we get it done within, the timelines for state law, so.
I just got a couple questions too.
Go ahead, Justin.
I know it used to be, and this is, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not an officer, of course. But Palmer Lancaster, of course, has funding for their officers, and we rely on the county to have officers come out here, if I'm correct.
Correct.
Okay, and then it used to be what I heard, there was 2 officers that would be on patrol for Little Rock, Lake LA, and Pearblossom, and active at a time to control that. I don't know how true that is, that's
Well,
why.
what we basically, during our regular shifts outside of the resident deputies, we have a East Side County cars, and we have West Side County cars. The West Side County cars will cover Acton, the Lake Elizabeth, Lake Hughes area, the Ojai Valley. And then the East Side County cars will handle, get calls for service, for, Little Rock, Pearblossom, going east. And then obviously, the way we break it up within the city, we have the west side of Palmdale, we have the mid-city, and then we have the east side of Palmdale. Now, I've worked both Lancaster and Palmdale over the years, and I can tell you one thing that I like about Palmdale versus just geographic wise is the city of Palmdale goes much further east. So if something occurs out here, it's much faster to get a city car from the east side of Palmdale to the East County area. Whereas Lancaster, for the most part, ends around 30th East. There's things that go beyond that, but for the most part, it ends around there. and when I work, if I had to go out to assist, it was a very long drive.
Yeah.
I've been, we can get additional units if needed and vice versa, from county units. So that's, that's one of the things that I appreciate about the Palmdale Station. So, but yeah, that's basically how we don't have it one car, we don't have it cars that handle, it would be, that handle all of the county. Because we just have things that go too far west and we have things that go too far east. It would be, untenable, for them.
So you just kind of like trade, okay, here's our county guys doing their things, but they're not available, so I'm gonna send the city guy in.
Yeah,
and the county guys.
basically, yeah.
Just like kind of overlapping and
Yes,
covering each
yeah.
other.
And that's why we
As
see,
needed.
that's why we see, unfamiliar officers that will stay every now and then, we don't recognize, most of them.
Yeah.
Generally, when there's a call, if we have to be there, we'll recognize like.
Yeah.
Be Cronin or a few other local guys will recognize, and then there's some guys that's like. So are you from around here?
And then, we'll also, if emergencies, I will be quite honest, Parks Bureau has been very good. The deputies that work Parks Bureau, if they have to be patrolling one of the county parks in the East County area, and it is a emergent call, they share a frequency, and if they're nearby, they will jump on to assist, come over and assist, and they will, then they'll go back, back to the park.
You guys have a special parks.
Yeah, it's a separate division, I'm sorry, bureau, and then, handles the county parks.
But it still look like.
Yeah, the deputy sheriffs, we use a lot of security officers for, those units, so they have the white shirts. So sometimes they'll look like volunteers, but they're security officers, they are.
There are.
So,
CHP real quick, CHP also
Yeah,
assists a lot of times, because they scan our channels. And if they know something major is going on, I've had a major big calls, something American going on. And I'm the only one rolling, but then I see about 2 chippies behind me. So they're quick to jump on and help out too, so.
we have a great relationship with
Yeah.
the highway patrol.
Great.
That was gonna be my question, like, hey, you guys correspond with them a lot.
We do, they're responsible for, obviously, the traffic investigations in the unincorporated county areas, but, we have a great relationship with, Antelope Valley, CHP, and, they actually were helping us on, initially, we were shooting out here. They had a couple of units that were, had just, I believe, broken free from a traffic accident. They heard that about the shooting, they came to assist with,
Traffic breaking.
yeah. So, and we do the same, we try to help them out as well, if there is a, major TC in the county area, we'll roll out and, assist them as much as we can.
There was an incident Friday of a CHP chasing somebody, traffic stop ran, and we were there to help them out. There's stuff, yeah, right there in Alpine, yeah, so we had deputies there. We
Oh
were
my
assisting.
God, I was working that day, man, it's kind of damn.
So when it comes down to it, when someone we need help out here, we're gonna get some help.
Well, the presence was like palpable. You went out there and looked and there's this black and whites everywhere and you go. The CP, the sheriff, the CP, the sheriff, it's like every other.
Basically, my comment about that question is, okay, if I'm in Lancaster and I'm outside my house, I see an officer roll by quite often. But if I'm in Pearblossom in my house, in 15 years, I've seen 2. And that's kind of why I'm asking that. And I had an incident last summer with a homeless guy hopping fences, getting into people's yards, doing all this. And called it in, and it was, well, trespassing, we really can't do much about. If he gets in your house, we can come. Well, it's too late then. I mean,
I will be honest with you that as far as trespassing is one of the things that's it comes up a lot, comes up on a lot of different fronts, especially with when we're dealing with homeless. Both in city and the more unincorporated areas. So it's some of the things that the laws are, and it's generally speaking, it doesn't get filed by the DA's office very often. And that's not something that doesn't stop us from arresting the person on a citizen's arrest for trespassing and booking them. they'll get released on citation and then, because that's not something we can hold them for. There's just not I don't even think it's bail amount for it anymore.
And it's, I understand those logistics, I
Yeah.
do, I mean, I work for the city of Lancaster, I
Yeah.
get that. But I also know, being out here, most law-abiding citizens that pay their rent on are
Yeah.
legal firearm owners as well.
Yeah.
So if they get in my house, it's too late, and then what, the law's against me? When I was trying to say, hey, get this guy out of my yard, he's a threat. You
Is
see
the
what I'm
guy
saying?
still,
Like,
is he
it's-
still on your property or?
Oh,
have you
no, I
left?
mean, luckily, I guess we neighbor down the street, his sister's a sheriff in LA. So
Okay.
she made the call and they got up to me in about 2 hours. Ran the guy out, well, they got him, they said, well, there's nothing we can do with him. Well, get him out of the yard and that's it. And I understand, you guys are hands are tied on a lot of stuff, I
Right.
get that, I'm not naive to it.
No,
But it's kinda like, where's the point as a citizen, do we, I guess put our foot down, I mean, what, do I kick the crap out of the guy in my yard, or I mean, what do we do?
All
you can do is ask them to leave.
Yeah, hey, I'll give you a couple of on your way out too, so.
It's, if he's on your property, he's not left, well, we will send deputies out.
And they did show up, and I'm not putting nothing, I know you guys are swamped, so I'm not saying. what the hell-
I understand,
why don't you do that,
look. I understand. I am not gonna say equally frustrated, because I'm not the one dealing with that homeless person on your property. All right, but it's extremely frustrating for the deputies as well. But if the person's on your property. And, we will send a deputy out. And if need be, we will effect the arrest for trespassing.
Can
And, it'll go through the process.
Can you
As a citizen, what's.
escort them off your property? And if they try to resist from being escorted, or they try something at that point, like, is that when a different line is crossed for you to protect yourself?
Are you talking about the
I'm just,
homeowner, or are you talking?
I'm talking about the homeowner, like, say the homeowner is like, I wouldn't let no one stay on my property, I'm gonna be out there, you're not getting nowhere near my house. And I'm gonna guard my house because I have my precious cargo inside, so I'm gonna head them up outside. I have a shotgun, but I also have the baseball bat and a bunch of other stuff. At what point does someone in your yard, like, cross, like, home defense, like, just because you're in your house, like, I guess I don't look at, hey, guys, can you, so I guess the question is, how can you protect yourself in the yard? Because that's equally, for me, and I think a lot of other people, especially in rural areas, just outside my front porch is equal to what's inside my front door. My precious cargo is outdoors as much as it is in. My girls are in my building, but my property is my property. The second you cross that line, I look at it as the same as you crossing that front door. So a lot of people, that's how we look at it in real life, but like, there's probably a fine line for the threshold to, protect yourself at that point if they keep advancing on you on your property, because we know, like, I'm not gonna call you, my wife will be, as I'm sitting there.
Well, you're starting to get into a lot of nuances of case law and things dealing with, when you're dealing with situations like that, I can tell you that, I highly wouldn't recommend walking out and getting in a confrontation with somebody on the property. If you're defending yourself, you're defending yourself. Now there is a big difference between somebody attempting to break into your house, which is a felony. All right. Okay. Especially if somebody's there and that person knows that they're there, the suspect knows that somebody's in the house. These things all are escalate the danger level. All right. In general, burglars like to break into houses that are empty. Okay. All right. So in general, a regular thief, okay, once they find out somebody's in the house, they generally move on. You know, in general, I mean.
It seems like we have a lot of,
So, but, you know, but there's that, and then you have to look at what is the actual crime? It's trespassing, which is a misdemeanor. And sometimes it's even what they refer to as a civil tort, which is not even a crime. It's like the person who's walking across your property because they're walking. You know, and so that technically. That's not even really a crime in and of itself. It's what they refer to as a civil tort.
Right.
Okay, so,
I had this scenario with my wife,
Yeah.
I was attending Costa Northridge and he called me like, hey, there's some guy trying to jump on the fence.
Yeah.
Back out on drugs.
yeah,
And
and
I'm like, call police. Next thing you know, like race home, I'm like, what happened? Oh, I had a neighbor escort him out, and he lived down the street, but he was hooked up on drugs.
Yeah.
That scenario where my wife's alone with the kid,
yeah,
and what do you expect her to do? I mean,
well,
Stay
yeah,
inside and call us.
yeah, basically stay inside.
Lock everything, keep everybody inside and call
Yeah.
911 and we'll get out here. And we'll deal with the problem.
I mean, you know, I would love to have more deputies out patrolling the east and west counties. You know. And that's something we'd like to have. But I have to deal with the number of deputies that I have on scene, but you know, it's also a high topic that we have at briefings is if you're assigned to a county area car is you go out to the county. Now, if there's a big emergency, you need to come back in the city, that's fine. We all help each other out because the same will happen out here. We had city cars at the deputy involved shooting here pretty much all day, you know, that day. So, but that's just the nature of how it goes. I would, I'd be ecstatic to be able to put more cars out here so that way, I can have some cars in Little Rock and some cars in Pearblossom, more on the regular versus them trying to cover the other 500 square miles of our station area from Little Rock to the San Bernardino County line. I can't even name off the top of my head all the different, communities that are, between here and there. So, and I'd love to have that. I mean, I can't, I don't even really want to look to see the last time a deputy just randomly drove through Yano, just to say that they patrolled Yano. I mean, it's.
If you need a mental break, that might help for a second, you know? I like to be respectful of your guys' time. We've been speaking for a while. I have two important things that actually got brought up and within the community, and I think some people here might agree with one of them. One of the first, of course, one of the first was we heard that Palmdale is really after their graffiti abatement, and they have a graffiti abatement officer or investigator or something that's coming up. But we know that's funds are coming from Palmdale and they're specific for that.
That's a specifically contracted item.
Do you have any suggestions on how we can advocate to expand that outside of Palmdale? Because we share most of Palmdale's bad boys out here, and a lot of the graffiti overlap.
Yeah.
So if we have stuff out here that would help identify Palmdale and vice versa, I'm already going to speak with Mr. Bishop about it and how maybe they can help support us,
right,
and maybe tie that in. We don't have near the amount what Palmdale's getting,
It's growing,
but it's starting to grow, and we have two types out here. Instagram has made it popular to share. So like the towers downtown to those guys who were downtown drive to Vegas, and one of our buildings got hit up by some pretty popular riders. These guys are in their 40s or whatever. So we can't really stop a lot of those freeway guys. It's like they pass through, they're gone. But we do have local ones who are really doing a lot of damage to small businesses. So if you have any suggestions, we'll be glad to take those, or if you find out something after talking that the way we can advocate.
That's something I'd have to look into, and I'll make sure that it gets back to you.
So I appreciate that. The last one is, we have off-road parties that are starting to become really popular out here.
Mhm.
Now, our culture out here is to ride our bikes,
Mhm.
and we teach our kids to cruise through town, hit certain parts of the desert, have a good time.
Right,
Most of us don't ever have a problem with that,
right,
because that's how we grew up out here in the 80s, and some of our parents back in the 60s. It's just our culture out here. Fortunately, we don't have enough riding areas. So we're not worried about that,
right,
because it's pretty small scale. You get a mom and or dad and his son go out, or a couple guys out to work or something, and it's super micro small, and they have a local's appreciation and respect.
right,
What's happening is we get these clubs that are coming down. So you have a guy out here, for example, we have someone up in Juniper Hills, they got a parcel, and they're having gigantic parties, off-road parties. Well, they're trickling over into the dam,
Mhm.
and that's federal land. Trickle in right over the hill, trickle in right over the hill. Going up, cutting locks, cutting gates down. I got a video of these guys out there with their razors doing donuts at the dam, which is completely shut down, right?
Okay.
But they're out there shooting. There's video of these guys shooting fully, like, that's not a semi-automatic.
Right.
They're out there partying.
If you have that video, you follow up with him, get that and get a report generated.
Yeah.
And so we'll make sure I'm gonna have Conan here, we're gonna get a report generated so we can do further investigation. A
Yeah.
lot of times too is we just need, sometimes on some of these things, we just need to get a initial report generated so that it prompts follow up. All right, for some of these things. Now, and so when we have these ongoing problems, we have, one of the bigger things is to actually get the initial report generated. So we can, without that report generated, there's gonna be no automatic follow-up. All right,
That'd be a starting point.
yeah, we have to have that starting point. We do have, during the summer, we have a grant for an off-highway vehicle team that does patrol. And then that can be something, that Cronin here can coordinate with. If we find out ahead of time there is a party or something like that, we can have the off-highway vehicle team go, hey, you go do that. They basically cover the entire valley.
Would they have the ability to cross onto federal land?
That part I do not
Or
know.
would you guys have the ability to work with, say, the Forest Service to?
We can always reach out to them. As far as our off-highway vehicle team going on to federal land, my gut reaction would be in general, no, because it's a grant for LA County, but I do not know the answer for that.
Okay, because maybe we can, I'll be glad to follow up with you on that.
Yeah.
one.
I know on the weekends, like a Friday night after dark, Saturday night, off of, what is that? So you take, like when we go to the 14th from here,
Oh, Chesborough?
Chesborough,
Yeah.
there's I saw a big group going up and over, so off of,
We're going to Cienega.
not towards the dam, the other way.
They're going down.
Cienega.
That's towards,
See, I don't know that area.
Yeah, they're
I just know how to drive it.
Cienega and.
they're having like 50, 60 cars roll
Yeah,
up.
yeah,
all
or
at a
you'll
time.
see all of their cars lined up and then they're off on their
They have
razors.
to go to the dam area?
No, this is the opposite direction.
But look below it, there's the old dam off Cienega
You know,
Falls.
on,
North of Mount Emma.
yeah, Mount Emma, off of Mount Emma.
Yeah.
So like if you're heading
There's all kinds of
east
stuff.
or west on Mount Emma, it's some of those dirt roads that go up on the right-hand side.
Yeah.
Or on the north side, that have been just cut away, they're fire roads or whatever, but yeah,
Where all
there's
the power lines are.
there's
That's all
quite a
the power
large
lines,
group,
yeah.
a couple times I've seen them.
This said, you guys know that there's no off-road vehicles, drive,
Right.
recreation area.
It's just, it's
In any
large.
county, there's no, you can't technically ride your off-road vehicles at all, anywhere in LA County.
Yeah,
So, cause they tried that, they tried to do the OJ park years ago.
Yeah.
That, but,
So
We're gonna
we need to-
revisit
yeah.
that.
yeah, I know. But the best thing to do is like the captain said, just we gotta get, and I tell this to everybody all the time. And you heard me say this at the Little Rock Town Council last week, is that if nobody calls,
We don't know what's
we
going on.
don't, we as a station,
Been
we
promoting
don't know
that
what's
for
going on.
5 years.
So a lot of times, and just put it on your social media page, that doesn't do anything.
No.
Okay, it's the calling that a captain said that if it's a reportable thing and we start the paperwork, we start writing reports, and then we can get the ball rolling. But if we don't know at our station, if I don't know what's going on, or anybody knows what, we can't take any kind of action. We don't know. So I would say, call. And I understand that it's frustrating sometimes because we don't show up for that long period of time and stuff like that. And most of you guys have my number. If for some reason a deputy's not showing up after a certain amount of time and I'm working, you can call me and I'll come out and deal with it. It depends on if it's a report call and the deputy's not showing up and it needs to be addressed and there's nobody showing up and I'm out and about and I'm not doing anything, pick up your phone, call me. I can generate a call myself. I can go handle that. So at least that paper trail that we can get that investigation started. But if nobody calls,
Mhm.
we don't know what's going on.
It's like it never happened.
Yeah, it's that.
Right.
So people just and I try to get the word out there, please call. Please call. I know it's frustrating, we don't show up, but at least, call so we can get to everybody, somebody out here. Like I said, if for some reason it's been a few hours and I'm out and about during the day and you're saying, hey, Deputy Cronin, I called this in and nobody's here, can you come out and I'll look at if the car that's supposed to be out here, if they're tied up on different things, I'm not doing anything, I'll come out there and I'll take the report. I'll write it and I'll turn it in, and then at least we get the ball rolling. But you just gotta call, that's all I can say. Unfortunately, like I
Is that
said.
Devin, is that Devin?
Oh, it's all being recorded. I'm gonna, when they do the presentation, it's too much to type.
So thanks again. Does anybody else have anything they'd like to share or talk about?
They keep on having parties, it's constantly, I think it's in maybe every other month.
Yeah, Dan told me, from Juniper Hill, she told me about it.
Yeah, having cars from the division, I don't know if that's gonna be.
That'll work.
So thank you guys for your time. Appreciate it very much.